Hello friends, welcome back to this online lecture series on earthquake resistant design of structures. As you all know, we are into this last phase of our online course on earthquake resistant design of structures, and since the last week we are discussing a couple of examples or numericals based on the content that we have seen earlier, that is for the calculation of lateral forces. In the previous lecture we have discussed the calculation of lateral forces based on the static method of analysis, that is the seismic coefficient method, whereas in today's lecture our focus is going to be on the dynamic analysis method, where is the response spectrum method and the time history method, right? So in today's example what we are going to do is we are going to take up one example, that is the calculation of lateral force distribution along the height of the building, that is in the vertical direction, based on the response spectrum method, right? So if we look at the data that is given to us, then it is saying that it is basically a 3-story building, that is a G+2 hospital building that is located in Ahmedabad and resting on medium soil, right? And it is analyzed for V vibration, and the analysis results are such that the weight on the first floor is 1100 kilonewton, second floor is 1300 kilonewton, and third floor is 1000 kilonewton, right? And since we know that from the concepts of dynamic analysis that we have seen in the previous semester also, as well as in this semester also, that whenever the building is going to be of G+2 geometry, then at the same time the corresponding angular frequencies that you are going to get is also going to be 3 in numbers, and corresponding to each angular frequency you are going to have a value of time period, and along with that you are going to have 3 values of mode shape, because the number of mode shapes are going to be equal to the number of floors. Why? Because they are in relation with the mass. So wherever the mass is going to be there the inertia forces are going to be there, and wherever the inertia forces are going to be there these values of angular frequency and corresponding value of mode shape will be available to us, right? So in the present example it is being said that the G+2 building is there. So basically 3 floors are there, and the weight on the 3 floor is given as 1300 kilonewton, 1100 kilonewton, and 1000 kilonewton, right? So accordingly we can say that the mass is distributed at 3 floors or 3 levels. So based on these 3 floors we can also make an assumption over here that the values of mode shape that we are going to get are going to be 3 mode shapes for each angular frequency. That is, it is going to be a pair of results where we are going to get the value of angular frequency also, and we are going to get the value of mode shape also, right? So the data of angular frequency is given to you, that is omega 1 is equal to 18.34, omega 2 is equal to 23.28, and omega 3 is equal to 31.59, and at the same time the corresponding sets of mode shapes are also indicated in the data that is given to you over here, right? So the last thing that is expected out of here is that calculate the distribution of lateral forces, that is the calculate the story shear by means of dynamic analysis, right? So we start with the basic example where we look at first the calculation method, that what are the steps that are going to be involved in the calculation of lateral forces or shear story by based on the dynamic analysis. So when I talk about the dynamic analysis, then in case of dynamic analysis the general assumption is that the regular buildings or the irregular buildings are going to be modeled as a system of lumped mass, having the masses concentrated at each floor level, that is, and with 1 degree of freedom. Why 1 degree of freedom? Because if you are going to consider multiple degree of freedom, then the calculation is going to become lot complex. So in order to avoid the complexity, we consider that only 1 degree of freedom is considered, and which is the degree of freedom, that is the lateral displacement that is going to be allowed of this particular floor in the direction in which the earthquake force is going to be applied, right? So as a result of that, if your calculation is going to be in x direction, then in that case the lateral displacement will be allowed in the x direction, right? And at the same time the contribution of varying masses and stiffness will also be taken into consideration when you look at the modal analysis that is adopted in dynamic analysis, right? So as a result of that, it is going to be advantageous as compared to the static method of analysis that we have seen earlier, where only the fundamental mode of time period was taken into consideration, and accordingly the calculation of seismic forces was done. However, dynamic analysis is going to give us more accurate result. Why? Because along with the changing of the height, the behavior of the structure is likely to change depending upon its stiffness and also depending upon the concentration of masses that is going to be there at different level, and at the same time time period will also have an important role to play, right? So as a result of that, the values or the behavior of the structure at different levels are also taken into consideration, and based on these mode shape the combined value of lateral forces and lateral shear stories are also calculated in the dynamic analysis, which is different than the static analysis, right? So first of all we start with the basic calculation, where the first step is going to be the calculation of modal mass. If I tell you in brief the calculation or the steps in which the calculation of dynamic analysis is to be done, then the first step is to calculate the modal mass. Once the modal mass is calculated, then the next step is the calculation of modal mass participation. Then the third step is to calculate the design lateral force at each floor level in each mode. Then the fourth step is going to be calculation of the story shear at each floor level in the combined modes. And lastly, calculation of lateral forces at each floor level for all the modes that are going to be considered. So basically we are going to have 6 steps. Now in this example that I have taken here, or in this lecture that we are going to discuss today, we are going to discuss the first 3 steps. That is, we are going to calculate the mass, and based on the mass we are going to calculate the modal mass. Then after calculation of modal mass, we look at the modal mass participation calculation as well, and the further example will be continued in the next video, right? So as we can see, the data is given to us that W1 is equal to 1100 kilonewton, W2 is equal to 1300 kilonewton, and W3 is equal to 1000 kilonewton. Now as we have followed strictly in case of dynamic analysis or structural dynamics also, the unit of mass is to be converted into kg for the simplicity, and in order to be aligned with the calculation method that is to be there. That is why what we have done is that we have first converted the value of kilonewton into newton and then divided by 9.81. So when you do that particular thing, the value of W1, W2 and W3, that is M1, M2 and M3 will be there in front of you, as you can see in this slide that is shown over here, right? Then corresponding to the mass, we are having the values of angular frequency, that is omega 1, omega 2 and omega 3. And similarly, we are having the values of mode shape, which are indicated by phi, which is given by phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3, right? So if I look at the value of phi 1, that is 0.298, 0.597, 0.74. Then phi 2 is 0.66, 0.35, 0.66. And phi 3 is equal to 0.70, 0.62 and 0.34, right? So the values of mode shapes are also given to us, values of mass are also given to us, and at the same time angular frequency is also given. So if you have this basic data, then based on that you can start the first step, that is the calculation of modal mass, right? So first step is the calculation of modal mass. Now IS 1893 is giving you all these formulas that we are going to discuss over here. It is present under the section of dynamic analysis in IS 1893 2016, and I am taking the reference from that particular code only, right? So if I look at the formula for calculation of modal mass, then it is given by sigma equal to I equal to 1 to n Wi into phi I k square divided by sigma I equal to 1 to n Wi phi I k the whole square. That is Wi into phi I k the whole square, right? So if I substitute these values that are there in with me, then in that case I can say that W1 is going to be the seismic weight of the floor at each floor level, that is there, that is W1, W2 and W3. Then phi ik is going to be the mode shape coefficient at I floor corresponding to k mode, that is phi ik, right? So it is going to be the mode shape coefficient at floor I corresponding to mode shape k, because we are going to have 3 mode shapes, right? It is phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3. So value of k is going to be in terms of k1, k2 and k3, and at the same time we are going to have 3 floors also. The value of I is also going to be equal to 1, 2 and 3, and value of W is also going to be 1, 2 and 3, right? So if I substitute these values one by one, then in case of M1, that is the modal mass M1 for the first mode shape, I can say is that wherein I will take the values of phi ik equal to the ones that are given in the first criteria, that is 0.66, 0.33 and 0.6607. So if I go back, then if I can refer over the data that is given to me, then in that case I can see the 0.66 is the value, then 0.33 is the value, and 0.6607 is the value that we are taking over here, right? So accordingly, if I substitute these values that are shown over here, then I will get the value of M1 in terms of the value that is shown over here, that is given to you over here in the terms of figure, that is in terms of kg, right? Then similarly we can calculate the modal mass for the second case, that is M2, and that is also going to be same formula, that is sigma I equal to 1 to n Wi phi I k the whole square divided by sigma I equal to 1 to n Wi into phi I k square. Here G is in division, but what we have done is we already converted the weight into terms of mass. So as a result of that, only the direct value in terms of kg is written. If you are taking the value in terms of kilonewton or newton, then in that case the value of G has to be divided in the denominator and it has to be converted in terms of kg, so that the final answer will be in terms of kg. So again, if I substitute these values that are given to me, then accordingly I will get the value of M1 and similarly the value of M2. Same way, I can calculate the value of M3 also. That is the values that are indicated in M3. That is the again same formula, sigma I equal to 1 to n wi into phi I k the whole square divided by sigma g into sigma I equal to 1 to n wi into phi I k square. Right. So again, if I substitute the value of W1, W2 and W3 and at the same time the value of mode shape that is there in front of me, then if I substitute, then I will get the values as 8084 kg. That is the value of M3. Right. So this is how what is going to happen is there. This is how you can calculate the values of the modal mass corresponding to each floor for all the three cases. That is M1, M2 and M3. That is, once you are able to do this, then the first step is completed. Then the next step, you have to do the summation of the values of mass, modal mass that we have obtained. So if I do the summation of modal mass, then capital M is equal to M1 plus M2 plus M3. And if I substitute these values of M1, M2 and M3 I have got, then the final answer I will get is 3,46,585 kg. Now, as we have seen in previous examples also, that we have certain checks based on which we can see whether our calculation is correct or not. So similarly here also, if we want to check whether our calculation is correct or not, then this value of M that you have obtained, that value should match with the total value of M that is given in the data. So if I go back to my initial data that is given, that is the value of M1, M2 and M3 that you can see over here. So if I do the summation of all these three values, then this value should match with the final value of M that is there, that we have calculated by calculating the modal mass M1, M2 and M3. Right? And if you cross check, then you will see that the values will match exactly with each other. Right? Now once this is done, then the next step, that is the second step, is the calculation of modal mass participation factor. And that modal mass participation factor shall be done for individual modes, that is the first mode, second mode and third mode. And the purpose is to find out the percentage of mass that is taking part in the analysis in first mode, second mode and the third mode. If I do the calculation, then the percentage of mass in the first mode, that is the total mass divided by the value of M1 that I have obtained. Then similarly the percentage of mass in second mode is equal to total mass divided by the modal mass value in mode shape 2. And similarly percentage of mass in third mode is equal to total mass divided by the percentage of mode shape value, that is percentage of modal mass value obtained in mode 3. Right? And if I convert in terms of percentage, then I can see that the percentage of mass contribution in the first mode is 90%, percentage of mass contribution in the second mode is 7.56%, and percentage of mass contribution in the third mode is 2.34%. Right? So if I again do the summation of all these percentage also, then the final value should be equal to 100%. So if the percentage is divided into such a manner that the final value is achieved as 100%, then your calculation is considered as correct. And at the same time, we need to keep in mind the calculation or the clause that is mentioned in IS 1893 also, that the principal mode of transfer, all the three principal modes of translation that are there should contribute at least 65%. If this contribution is less than 65% also, then in again that case the structural system has to be modified so that the value of angular frequency will change and corresponding value of mode shape will also change. And once that is achieved, then again this calculation has to be done and the mass values have to be checked out and the percentage of modal mass has to be taken into consideration. Right? So when you are able to do these two things, then as a result of that, the first two steps of your calculation for dynamic analysis under the response spectrum method is complete. That is the calculation of modal mass, and second is the modal mass participation factor. If you remember, then we have discussed in the vertical irregularities regarding several types of irregularities, where in the last type of irregularity, the 7 types of irregularity, we discussed that the mode shapes are not matching or that they are not proper in the principal orthogonal directions. And in that particular discussion, we have seen that the clause is mentioning that the 65% contribution should be there from the modal mass participation factor. So that modal mass participation factor we have discussed today, that is how we can calculate the modal mass participation factor and its percentage. If this value is greater than 65, then it is okay, but if the values are less than 65, then as a result of that we need to make some necessary changes in the structural system or the architectural planning in order to achieve the correct values based on which the irregularity in the structure can be avoided. Because under the 7 irregularities that are vertical irregularities that are mentioned in IS 1893, this is also one of the criteria that is mentioned in the last irregularity, that is the 7th number of irregularity. Right? So if these values are not greater than 65%, then also it can be said that the structure is irregular in nature, even though it may not be seem to us irregular from its geometric point of view or from the shape point of view. But if these values are not achieved and the performance of the structure that is anticipated is not achieved as per IS 1893, then also it can be said that the structure is going to be irregular in nature in that particular direction. Right? I hope you have understood the importance of modal mass and modal mass participation factor under the application of dynamic fluids and by means of dynamic analysis method, that is the response spectrum method. Stay tuned for the further lecture series. Thank you.